Known for his online videos and social media presence, one of the main leaders of Colombia's National Liberation Army, Andrés Venegas Londoño, was killed during a military operation. President Ivan Duque said the rebel commander, better known by his nom de guerre Uriel, died in the coastal Pacific province of Choco. Uriel is accused of being behind a 2019 car bomb attack on a police academy in Bogota, which left 21 recruits dead. The National Liberation Army, or ELN, had been in peace talks with the government, but Duque put an end to them following the attack. The left-wing rebel group was founded in 1964. These days, they're said to operate in about 10% of the country with some 2,300 fighters.
Armenia and Azerbaijan have been accusing each other of violating a new ceasefire intended to halt the fighting over the disputed Nagorno-Karabakh region. The U.S. brokered truce was due to take effect a few hours ago. This was the third attempt to end the fighting, which broke out in the mountainous enclave some 4 weeks ago.
We're not allowed to move freely near the front line. We are only allowed to film what the Azerbaijani authorities let us film. This school in Barda, for example, even if it looks like it, the children here are not students. They are refugees. This has been an emergency shelter since the fighting started a month ago. Right at the entrance, a memorial for a fallen Azerbaijani soldier. Everyone here is convinced that their army is fighting for a just cause.
Вас вытянут из этих подъездов на 1-2.
After months of quiet, Baghdad's Tahrir Square came alive on Sunday to commemorate the one-year anniversary of Iraq's anti-government protests. Students and teachers who had previously marched to Tahrir every Sunday but had stayed away because of the coronavirus pandemic once again joined in. The atmosphere was part festive, part somber. They rejoiced to the beat of the same revolutionary songs of last year, but also remembered those who died for the cause. Protesters climbed atop the barricades leading to the heavily fortified Green Zone, which houses government offices, taunting a ruling class they see as corrupt. Last year, they forced then Prime Minister Adel Abdelmahdi to resign, but the parties and the system that brought him to power remain in place.
A massive celebration to mark the end of the last vestige of Chile's former military dictatorship. "We've won," chorused this family, in the same part of Santiago that became the epicenter of protests for more than a year. Millions of Chileans who've been calling for profound social reforms had demanded a new constitution to replace the one written 40 years ago under the military dictatorship. When the vote counting began, it was clear that Chileans by an overwhelming majority had approved the formation of a constituent assembly whose delegates will be chosen by popular vote and with gender parity. They will ultimately be the ones to draft the new constitution, a process that could take 2 years.
The central government in Nigeria has mobilized all police forces this weekend in the wake of protests and killings by security forces. Dozens of protesters have died, and there are concerns the latest move could make matters even worse.
We've had days of, violence, massive lootings that have occurred by thousands of people in different parts of the country simultaneously. We've seen people going to government offices, residential areas, shopping malls and warehouses where there were food supplies to loot, vandalize and destroy those properties. But we've also seen quite a number of states out of the 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory in Nigeria. We've seen state governors come out to impose a curfew to bring, the entire force, police, civil defense, and a couple of others also brought out the military to support and ensure that there is law and order in those states.
Australia's Foreign Minister is demanding answers tonight over the grossly disturbing strip search of 13 Australian women at Doha airport without their consent. The Australian Federal Police have been brought in after the women were ordered off their Qatar Airways flight and medically examined.
The slick promo video of Doha's Hamad International Airport promises an unforgettable experience. But for 13 Australian women on a transiting Qatar Airways flight, it was a humiliating nightmare. It was October 2, flight QR908 was bound for Sydney. Lawyer Dr. Wolfgang Baybeck was on board.
There was an announcement made and the women were asked to leave the plane.
Dr. Baybeck initially feared there may have been a hijacking or a bomb on board, but was assured everything was okay. 40 minutes later, the women aged between their early 20s and 50s returned to their seats, and it was clear they weren't okay. Among the 13 women was an Australian diplomat. All had been strip searched and invasively examined after airport officials found a premature newborn in a terminal toilet.
The operation to retake the tanker happened shortly after 7 p.m. Special Forces commandos from the SBS abseiled onto the deck from helicopters hovering above, supported by colleagues who scaled the side of the ship. The 7 hijackers were captured without being harmed, and the ship was retaken. The tanker had been stationary a few miles off the coast of the Isle of Wight for most of the day, one of the world's busiest shipping lanes. She was due to dock in Southampton on Sunday morning, but started steering an erratic course shortly after 10:30 a.m. Images from the marine traffic website showed her zigzagging movement for almost 2 hours. The stowaways began acting violently when the crew discovered them and tried to lock them in a cabin.
More than 400 people are died after a Chinese passenger boat sank on the Yangtze River after being hit by what the captain described as a cyclone. 200 bodies have so far been recovered from the Dingfangzixing, or Eastern Star, vessel, which was carrying 458 people on a river cruise when it went down at around 9:30 p.m. on Monday night not far from the city of Jingzhou in Hubei province. It appeared that about 18 people were known to have survived, with heavy rain and strong winds hindering the work of emergency teams. A further 40 bodies were recovered 30 miles from the wreck, state media reported, in an indication of the speed of the water and the scale of the challenge facing recovery teams. Television footage from the wreck showed rescuers in orange life vests climbing on the upside-down hull, with one of them lying down tapping a hammer and listening for a response, then gesturing downward. Rescuers pulled 6 people to safety after hearing cries for help from inside the capsized vessel, and at least 12 others swam to shore. Magnitude 5.1 earthquake occurred under the Three Gorges Dam, the world's largest hydroelectric dam built in 2003 to block the Yangtze River. The earthquake caused some damage to structures near its epicenter, but no apparent damage to the dam. In a stroke of luck, a group of scientists from China University of Geoscience in Wuhan and St. Louis University were conducting a seismic recording experiment in the region and deployed a temporary seismic network when the earthquake occurred. The earthquake occurred almost right beneath one of our seismic stations, said Lu Peizhu, PhD, a seismology professor in the Department of Earth and Atmospheric Sciences at SLU and the principal investigator of the project. This gave us a unique opportunity to locate the main shock and its small aftershocks precisely. The results revealed that all the earthquakes occurred in a narrow band along a previously unidentified fault that is connected to the reservoir.
On arrival, he didn't have a pulse, so I would say that's not a good place to be in.